The Intergalactic Council convened in a vast chamber, an architectural wonder suspended in the cold void of space. Representatives from thousands of species filled the tiers, their diverse forms a testament to the galaxy's rich biodiversity. At the center of it all stood a solitary figure, the human ambassador. Clad in a simple suit, they seemed almost insignificant amidst the grandeur and advanced technology surrounding them. Yet, their posture was unyielding, their expression unreadable. The Council's High Arbiter, a being of crystalline elegance, known as Valek, addressed the assembly. Let it be known that Earth, identified as Sol 3, has officially been contacted by the Galactic Accord. As a Type 2 civilization, they are eligible for integration under standard surrender protocols. The floor is now open for discussion. Whispers rippled through the chamber. The humans were a curiosity, a species that had achieved interstellar communication with astonishing speed, but lacked the cohesion typical of galactic societies. Their history, marred by conflict and chaos, baffled the Council. Most species, upon reaching such a stage, had long unified under singular governments. The humans, by contrast, clung to their fragmented nations, each vying for dominance. One counselor, a towering avian creature with feathers of iridescent green, spoke. Their aggression is well documented. Their wars, even among themselves, are ceaseless. How can we trust such a species to integrate peacefully? The human ambassador stepped forward, their voice calm but firm. Aggression? You mistake survival for aggression. Ours is a history forged by adversity. Every inch of progress, every triumph, came at a cost. We do not fight for the sake of fighting. We fight because there has always been something worth fighting for. The chamber fell silent. Valek tilted their crystalline head. Ambassador, it is customary for species to accept surrender terms upon first contact. It ensures peace and mutual prosperity. Yet, your kind has shown resistance. Do you not understand the protocols? The ambassador's lips curved slightly, the faintest hint of a smile. We understand them. We simply don't have them. This statement caused a stir. Murmurs of confusion and disbelief echoed through the chamber. A representative of the aquatic Siltari, their voice a series of melodic clicks translated into speech, queried, "You mean to say your species has no concept of organized capitulation?" "That's correct," the ambassador replied. "Surrender isn't in our nature. We adapt, we endure, but we do not yield. It's not arrogance, it's survival." Valek's crystalline form shimmered, as if considering this alien perspective. Fascinating, yet impractical. Surely, there are instances in your history where surrender has preserved life. Perhaps, the ambassador conceded, but survival isn't just about living. It's about living on our terms. To surrender is to lose everything that defines us. The Council's deliberations grew increasingly animated. Many species couldn't fathom such stubbornness, viewing it as an evolutionary flaw. To them, surrender was a tool of survival, a mechanism to preserve life and rebuild. But to the humans it seemed surrender meant annihilation, not of the body, but of the spirit. The ambassador's presence loomed larger than their stature. Their words carried a gravity that unsettled even the most assured counselors. You see us as primitive, fragmented, and chaotic, but that chaos is our strength. We don't break because we're already unbroken, and we won't surrender because we don't know how. The session adjourned with no resolution, only the lingering realization that the humans were unlike any species the Council had ever encountered. The Zythar Collective's fleet descended on Earth with the precision and arrogance of a species accustomed to dominance. Their ships, vast obelisks of metal and energy, hovered over major cities as they broadcast their ultimatum. Surrender or be destroyed. It was the standard procedure, one that had subdued countless worlds. But Earth did not respond as expected. Instead of submission, they faced an eerie silence. At first, the Zythar commanders interpreted this as indecision or disarray, a hallmark of a civilization unprepared for galactic conflict. However, the humans' delay was not born of confusion but calculation. Within hours, their response came not in words but in action. The first strike hit a Zythar command ship over North America. It wasn't a traditional assault. There were no plasma cannons or energy beams. Instead, a coordinated cyber attack infiltrated the ship's systems, overriding its automated defenses and crashing it into the Atlantic Ocean. The Zythar, baffled by such a primitive yet effective tactic, quickly realized they had underestimated Earth's ingenuity. Resistance erupted everywhere. Civilian populations didn't flee in terror, they armed themselves. Makeshift defenses sprang up in cities and rural areas alike. Human militaries, though technologically outmatched, used the terrain to their advantage. They repurposed satellite systems to jam Zythar communications, and even improvised EMP weapons to disable their enemies' shields. What confused the Zythar most was the humans' unpredictability. They didn't adhere to any standard military doctrine. One moment, they engaged in full-scale assaults. The next, they disappeared into the shadows, striking only when least expected. Guerrilla tactics, sabotage, and relentless counterattacks turned the invasion into a logistical nightmare. A Zythar ground commander, overseeing operations in a sprawling desert, reported an encounter that became emblematic of the humans' resistance. "We captured a small group of them," he explained to his superiors. When interrogated, they laughed. "They mocked us, said we'd never win. One even claimed, 'We'll fight you with sticks and stones if we have to.'" The commander dismissed it as bravado at the time. But weeks later, when their advanced supply lines were decimated by human forces using scavenged technology, the words rang hauntingly true. As the campaign dragged on, the Zythar grew desperate. Their fleet was designed for quick conquests, not prolonged wars. Resources dwindled, morale faltered, and the humans only grew bolder. Even children and elders contributed to the resistance, their collective will as implacable as their soldiers. One decisive moment came when a human militia lured a Zythar battalion into a dense forest. Expecting an easy victory, the Zythars soon found themselves trapped. Explosives rigged in the trees, ambushes from above, and the uncanny ability of the humans to vanish into the underbrush turned the battalion's superior weaponry into a liability. Not a single Zythar soldier left the forest alive. For the first time in their history, the Zythar were forced to retreat. It was an unthinkable humiliation. As their ships left Earth's orbit, scarred and defeated, a message was broadcast from the planet's surface. It was a simple statement, spoken in countless human languages: "We do not surrender." The Zythar returned to the council, battered and confused. Their report was met with disbelief, and, for the first time in centuries, fear. Earth had rewritten the rules of engagement. The Intergalactic Council dispatched a delegation to Earth, their mission simple yet unprecedented: to understand why humans refused to surrender, even against impossible odds. The delegation consisted of historians, scientists, and diplomats from various species, all eager to unravel the peculiar psychology of this stubborn species. What they discovered defied comprehension. The first stop was a meeting with Earth's historians. They recounted tales of defiance spanning millennia. From small tribes resisting empires to global wars fought against seemingly insurmountable enemies, the pattern was clear. Humanity thrived in the face of adversity. "For us," explained one historian, "the fight is often more important than the outcome. Surrender means we lose the chance to fight for what matters." The council representatives struggled to comprehend this mindset. For most galactic species, survival was the ultimate goal, even if it meant capitulation. But to humans, survival without freedom or dignity wasn't survival at all. It was extinction of a different kind. Next, the delegation interviewed military strategists and veterans. One retired general summarized it succinctly: "We've always been outmatched. nature, technology, even ourselves, we've fought against it all. What keeps us going is the belief that as long as we resist, there's hope. Hope isn't a strategy, but it's the reason we make strategies. The delegation then turned to philosophers and psychologists, hoping for deeper insights. They were introduced to a concept called grit, a term that seemed uniquely human. A psychologist explained, "It's the combination of passion and perseverance. Humans don't just endorse suffering, we find meaning in it. That's why we resist, even when logic suggests we shouldn't." One council member, a representative of a species known for their peaceful capitulations, couldn't contain their disbelief. But why endure unnecessary suffering? Why not yield and rebuild later, as others have done? A philosopher responded with a question of their own. Have you ever rebuilt after yielding? Or did you simply adapt to being ruled? The silence that followed spoke volumes. The delegation visited sites of historical significance, each offering a glimpse into humanity's resilience. They stood on the beaches of Normandy, where soldiers faced near-certain death to turn the tide of a global war. They walked through the ruins of ancient cities, rebuilt time and again after being razed by invaders. They saw memorials to civil rights movements, where unarmed individuals faced brutality to demand equality. But it wasn't just stories of war and conflict that defined humanity's refusal to surrender. The delegation also learned of scientific achievements born from impossible odds, space exploration undertaken with primitive technology, diseases eradicated through tireless research, disasters mitigated by collective effort. Each story painted the same picture. Humans didn't stop when faced with challenges. They adapted, innovated, and persevered. In their final report, the delegation wrote, "Humans are driven by something more than survival. They are fueled by a need to overcome, to assert their will against the universe itself. For them, surrender is not a strategy. It is an admission of defeat that their nature cannot accept." The Council now understood humanity's defiance, but this understanding brought unease. A species that refused to yield, even when all seemed lost, was both a potential ally and a dangerous force. The Intergalactic Council reconvened to discuss the findings of the delegation and determine Earth's fate. The chamber, once filled with curiosity and mild disdain for the humans, now pulsed with tension. For the first time in centuries, the Council was divided. Some argued that humanity's defiance was a dangerous aberration that could destabilize the galaxy. Others saw it as a strength that could be harnessed. Vialek, the High Arbiter, addressed the assembly. "We face a choice. Do we exclude Earth for its refusal to conform to our protocols, or do we accept that their uniqueness has value? Consider carefully. This decision will shape the galaxy for generations." A silence fell before a representative of the Zythar collective stood to speak. Their voice carried the weight of recent defeat. "We underestimated them, as many of you still do. Yes, they are unpredictable, even reckless. But they are also resourceful and relentless. We have never encountered a species capable of matching us, without equal technology. Imagine what they could achieve with our support." This sparked murmurs of agreement, but dissent quickly followed. A counselor from a deeply pacifist species objected. "Their refusal to surrender is dangerous. It shows a lack of respect for life. Integration requires cooperation, not defiance." The human ambassador, standing silently throughout the debate, finally spoke. "Respectfully, you misunderstand. We value life deeply, so much so that we refuse to live it under someone else's terms. Our defiance isn't a rejection of peace. It's a demand that peace be built on mutual respect, not submission." The words resonated with some, but inflamed others. A reptilian counselor sneered. "And if mutual respect fails? Will you fight the entire galaxy as you fought the Zythar?" The ambassador's response was calm but unyielding. "We don't seek conflict, but we won't shy away from it if survival demands it. The galaxy has existed in peace because of surrender protocols, but we propose a different kind of peace, one built on collaboration, not coercion. It's harder, yes, but it's stronger. The chamber erupted into debate, arguments flying back and forth. Some counselors feared that humanity's presence would disrupt the delicate balance that had maintained peace for millennia. Others argued that the balance itself needed rethinking and that humanity's resilience could be a stabilizing force in an evolving galaxy. Galactic, presiding over the chaos, finally called for order. "Let us vote," they declared. "Shall Earth be granted membership in the Intergalactic Council? Consider the implications carefully." The vote was close, the margin razor-thin. Humanity was accepted. The decision sent ripples through the galaxy. Earth's inclusion was both a symbol of the Council's adaptability and a challenge to its traditions. Over the following months, humans began participating in Council affairs. Their ideas, while unconventional, sparked innovation. Military strategies were rethought, diplomatic approaches redefined, and even surrender protocols were reconsidered. Other species began to adopt fragments of humanity's adaptability and resilience, integrating these traits into their own cultures. The human ambassador, in a private moment with Galactic, reflected on the decision. "You took a risk allowing us in," they said. Galactic's crystalline form shimmered. "Perhaps. But survival is not achieved by clinging to the old ways. You humans taught us that." As the Council adapted to its newest and most unpredictable member, a quiet understanding settled over the galaxy. Humanity's defiance, once seen as a flaw, was now recognized as a force that could shape a stronger, more united future.